Hi everyone, welcome back to Blue Echo Games. Today, I am going to prepare this scale model kit for use in Shattered Moon with a few easy steps. You can use these steps to open the door for your favorite miniatures to become game-ready warriors in the galaxy of Shasea. At 100 subscribers, I'll release a free STL pack with everything you need for these easy conversions. So subscribe to the channel below and join our Discord for free stuff. The first step is to figure out how these units will play within my Mayetu army and decide on weapons. This 1914 Belgian infantry kit comes with 4 soldiers, bolt-action rifles, some pistols, swords, and bayonets. I'm going to build the 3 rifle wielders as a full-sized elite infantry datasheet. These 1/35th scale minis are infantry, small because they are less than 6 centimeters tall, unarmored, and humanoid, which makes them a provincial response scout team. I'm going to leave the bolt-action guns as they are, since they qualify as carbines, and that stat line fits my playstyle and the role of this unit. Since I don't want to run blades or pole arms, I'm going to sculpt and print some axes to boost the armor-piercing damage this army can inflict. Luckily, small weapons are straightforward sculptures, and I create a simple design with enough detail to catch dry brushing highlights within my printer's functional resolution of about 0.2 millimeters. While my new weapons and some bases for the units are printing, I begin the process of building the miniatures. This routine process starts by clipping the bits off their sprues, slicing any sprue scars, and scraping the blade along mold lines before assembly. Since this is meant to be as simple as possible, the only thing I do outside the kit's instructions is glue my axes to the models in visible and believable places. Given PLA's chemical makeup, I use super glue for any 3D printed parts. This paint scheme is simple and only requires black, white, silver, and 3 or 4 colors for your soldiers, plus any earth tones you might want for the base or skin. I'm going to use the custom red, blue, and gold mixes I created for this army. I start by doing a very faint white dry brush over the Zenithal primed mini, using downstrokes to highlight the upward facing edges. I mix black, white, and a little water to create a thin gray paint to make the model's large winter coat a consistent gray color, but leave it thin enough to let some of the previous gradient from the primer influence the final value. Once I added enough paint for the jacket and tails to look like a single material, I use black to make the pants and boots stand out from the jacket above them. I use more paint here as I'm trying to create a uniform matte black, and will restore some volume and detail later. By using a gray base color for the largest part of the mini, we can work with our priming step rather than against it. We can use our scheme colors to differentiate objects and add accent to the model, but by reducing the surface area we need to cover with these colors, we can speed up the process. I find that using different colors for each material and adjacent objects makes it look like an actual real-world soldier and less like a plastic toy. Black mixed with silver creates a nice gunmetal effect, and the color scheme's gold is mixed with darker paint as well. Metallic paints are often extremely bright and reflective, and I find that mixing them with normal paints or reserving them for dry brushing gives me a more realistic final look. Since I always make small mistakes when detailing, I finish the model by touching up any paint that ended up on neighboring surfaces, then doing one last extremely faint white dry brush over the model with a large, soft brush. For this step, I remove essentially all of the paint from the brush on a piece of paper until I can't see anything come off. Just that tiny amount of residual white paint is enough to create subtle white highlights on the miniature. In the interest of simplicity, I opt for easy bases. I glue a couple of rocks to the base with super glue and then coat the base's surface with PVA glue. After letting the glue settle and distribute itself for a few minutes, I dip it in sand and let it dry overnight. After locking everything in place with a coat of matte varnish, I finish the base by painting any parts I desire. I use watered down dark paint to flow into the sand and light coats of dry brushed highlights on the raised portions. At the very end, I use a thick Mars black paint on the rim of the base, and I've completed the model. Here is my new squad, Firestorm, ready for duty. I marked the lieutenant with a unique gold hat color for that juicy courtesy point at the end of every game, and I'm excited to deploy them in my next battle. If you want me to release the first chapter of Firestorm's story, comment lore please below. Once I get 10 lore comments, I'll upload chapter 1. If you're interested in our wargame, Shattered Moon, you can visit our website, blueechogames.com, to download everything you need to play Shattered Moon for free. Lastly, I'd like to thank everyone for supporting my last video. Though the numbers seem small right now, seeing some positive momentum on this project has been a great motivator, and I'm really excited to bring you more fun wargaming in the future. So thank you, and I'll see you next week!